Hi, and welcome to The Curling Show, the podcast that brings you interviews with the sport's top athletes and the people who shape the game. Brought to you by Fit to Curl, a sports-specific guide to training for the world's greatest game by Team Martin III and Olympic gold medalist John Morris, with a bit of assistance from me, Dean Gemmell. The clock is ticking on your off-season training. Now is the time to increase your strength and cardiovascular capabilities for next winter. You can purchase Fit to Curl at fittocurl.com, at Curling Pro Shops, and now at Chapters, Indigo, and Kohl's stores in Canada. And if you get to the Chapters store at 66 Crowfoot Terrace Northwest in Calgary at 2 p.m. on Saturday, May 15th, you'll be able to meet John Morris and get your very own autographed copy of Fit to Curl. The new third, the new skip, the new guy on the Gushues, Randy Ferbey. Welcome back to the Curling Show.
Hey, thanks, Dean. Nice to be here.
So what is it going to be, Randy? Team Gushue or Team Ferbey next year?
You know what? It's those are little details we got to work out between me and Brad. You know, it doesn't really matter if it's Team Ferbey or Team Gushue. It's the four individuals out on the ice. I don't think any one of us has got an ego where we have to see our name on the board or in the papers or whatever. So we're sort of just going to play it and see what happens, I guess, from the media's perspective. And, you know, we'll talk to our sponsors to see what they want to do, and we'll come to an agreement that both of us will agree upon no matter what happens.
That's where you need a big sponsor, and you just go with team/corporate name there would be the way
Well, that's what we're thinking about, for sure. That might be a possibility.
Well, anyways, Randy, before Jason Gunnlaugson, Justin Richter, and Tyler Forrest announced plans to curl for Russia, your decision to join Team Gushue next season was about the most unexpected move of the offseason. I've said on this podcast that I have some doubts about the lineup. Others like Joan McCusker on CBC, John Meade, and Cheryl Bernard on this show have been sort of lukewarm about it. But you tell me why we're all wrong and why this lineup is going to work.
Well, I'm not saying you're wrong. I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion. You know, quite frankly, I was really surprised that Brad called me. Pleasantly surprised, not surprised. And you know, there's four individuals here. It was well thought out. Brad thinks I can help his team from a calling perspective and give him a little bit of insight to how I played the game at a high level for the last 10 years. And, you know, no kidding, I'm quite selfish, I guess you could say. I think this is a great move for me. It prolongs my career for another year. Like I said, we're all professional. It was well thought out. And, you know, we're going to try it for a year and see what happens.
You know, now you're not going to be playing with Brad, Mark, and Ryan in the Newfoundland Playdown, so unless you put a last-minute team together in Alberta, you won't be competing for Tim Hortons Brier title. And yet, Randy, you've staked a career in the Brier. I've called it the most important event for your teams in the past, I think, played in it when other teams did not, and even told Michael Landsberg on TSN's Off the Record that you thought it's harder to win than Canada's Olympic trials. Can you understand why some fans out there might be saying, fans of Randy Ferbey, fans of the Brier, fans of curling, might be saying, Randy Ferbey, what's going on here?
Well, I don't think I have to back it up there. I don't think I told Michael Landsberg it was harder to win than the Olympic trials, because that was a once-in-a-lifetime or once every 4-year event. It was a great, tough event to win, and you had to be at the top of your game. So I'm not taking anything away from there. But Randy Ferbey has always prided myself on the Brier. Like, I mean, this goes back 30 years when I wanted to play in it, and I still like to play in it. Will I play out of Newfoundland? At this point in time, it is not realistic. If something opens up, if they allow me to play there without bending the rules, then I will look at that. Will I look at putting a team together for the Alberta Playdowns if that doesn't work out? Absolutely. And, you know, there are things in the works already. I've talked to a few individuals that I can't mention right now, but there is a possibility that I will, again, try to get to the Brier, whether it's from Newfoundland or Alberta.
Well, what do you think of the fact that some provinces seem to play a little more fast and loose with the residency rules than others? Do you think there either needs to be a throw up the hands and say there's really no rules, play where you want, or do we need to start to say these are standard residency rules across the country?
Well, quite frankly, that has been one of the rules that I've been concerned about for the last 20 years, who can play where and how they change the rules in their favor of the individuals. And I think there does have to be some consistency right across the Brier, especially when it involves getting back to the Olympic trials and the points awarded through the systems and so forth and the provincials and so forth. There has to be some consistency. Now, how we do that, I have no idea. I mean, I've talked to the CCA, and they always say it's up to the governing body or up to the provincials to decide who can play out there. And quite frankly, it is unfair. I mean, it's no secret that there's a few individuals that lived in or played out in Manitoba in the last few years that they did not live there.
And, well, yeah, guys, you know, I mean, you played with Don Walchuk, you played with Kevin Park. I mean,
sure.
Neither of them could be, I think, considered a true resident of the province.
No, they're not, and I think they'd be the first to admit it. But they allowed them to play, and you know, to no fault of their own, they played there. But at the same time, if I want to play out of Ontario or BC, the rules are much more tougher to play out of there, or for me to bring in a player here in Alberta. You just can't do that. So I think they really have to look at that, because, I mean, 20 years ago it is different than it is nowadays. Curling's getting more and more business-like, and, you know, it's all about the trials and about sponsors and so forth. So we really got to look at that avenue to some degree, for sure.
Well, and part of it is the world has gotten a little more complicated. I mean, nowadays a guy could say, well, I'm working online 90% of the time in this province, you know, so.
Well, absolutely. Like, you know, it is a concern, and I like to think that it's on their plate, the CCA, to look at that.
Yeah, I don't know if it is or not, to be honest, but it is. It's a challenge for them, actually. I'm not quite sure if there's an easy solution. Hey, the best line of the curling off season so far, I think, has got to be from you, when during the news conference in Newfoundland, you said, "I never even really liked Brad," which was like Bob Weeks, I've always admired you for your bluntness off the ice. I love that line. But after years of playing with guys who seem to be very good friends off the ice, are you ready for a rink that's separated not only by thousands of miles or kilometers, but also by some real differences when it comes to your individual personalities?
Yeah, well, you know, I'll be honest with you, it is going to be difficult. The hardest thing for me is leaving the three individuals that I played with for over 10 years and playing with three individuals that are basically a country away from me. The communication is going to be a little different for me, obviously. But again, I think we're professionals that we can deal with that. You know, are Brad and I different? Absolutely. And that's okay. I don't want him to change to be like me, or I'm not going to change to be like Brad. And, you know, first thing I told him is, you know, don't expect me to not be sociable like I have been in the last 10 years. I'm not going to change anything about my game or my off-ice activities, I guess you could say. And I don't expect him to change either.
So you'll be awkward silences.
Well, no, we'll have our moments.
Yeah.
You know, we'll have our moments for sure, and we'll pick our spots. And you know, Brad's just got to do what he has to do. He's still going to throw the last rock, and I got to prepare to the best of my ability and do what I've done for the last 10 years, and try not to change too much.
Hey, there had been talk before this news that you would be joining forces with Kevin Cooey, but I think that changed after that team won the Tim Hortons Brier, and it appears Blake McDonald has maybe put his plans for a curling sabbatical on hold. Were there ever conversations, or was that just speculation? That
was all just speculation. You know, we might have mentioned it once during the year over a drink or something like that, but we never ever sat down and actually talked about it. Would have it worked? You know, who knows? Would have I played? I would have definitely considered it. I would have considered any possibility, I guess you could say, at this stage in my career, and I'm just glad Brad came along and gave me another opportunity.
Yeah, let's talk about this stage of your career, but let's talk about Jason, Gunnlaugson, Justin, and Tyler for a moment. Sure. Since Jason's been on the show, we've heard they're all going to earn about $100,000 a year, although Patty Wootridge has said that number is too high. It's also been pointed out that if they play for Russia at a World Championship, they won't be able to play for Canada for 6 years after that. So that means, when I look at it, if things go according to plan and they play for Russia in the 2014 Olympics and the Worlds, I think that would mean they actually couldn't play down for a Brier until 2020. But let's say you were 25 years younger, without the obligations one accumulates as you become an adult, or get older, whatever we want to call it. Would you take this deal?
You know, 25 years younger or a month younger, I would have definitely looked at it.
Month younger.
It's a great opportunity for them. I mean, I have some questions about it, which is basically none of my concern, really, but for an opportunity for them to do this and basically be the highest paid curlers in Canada as of today, if those numbers are true, all the power to them. But, you know, I know they're getting a lot of criticism. It's right or it's wrong, and it's entirely up to the individuals. I don't think there is a right or wrong. It's just how you feel about it, leaving your country to represent another country. It's entirely up to them. You know, that's the bottom line, to be honest with you.
Well, I think the reality is, at the current moment, the only way to be a true full-time athlete in our sport is with generous state funding. Until we have corporate models that are like pro cycling or Formula One, where corporations are backing your team fully, and I know guys have good sponsorship packages like you guys have, but I mean, really backing you, you know, it's going to be players are going to compete under different international flags instead of corporate banners.
And unfortunately or unfortunately, everybody's got a price. And I don't see that happening in Canada because we've got so many good teams. Like, where does the dollars end? Like, we've got 15, 20, 30 good teams. How are we going to sustain 30 teams playing professionally? Well, it's not going to happen.
Well, it's not going to happen with government funding. No, there's no way.
And where does it go? Does it go to the top 2 teams? But we've got to get it down to the top 30 teams or 20 teams at least. And like I said, the only concern I had, not a concern, the question I had about Jason's team is they got a great offer, good for them, but I still think they could have possibly, there's a lot of deserving other curlers that might have jumped at this opportunity. And not to take anything away from those guys again, but I think it should have been like almost an open competition to see who'd be willing to move there, who'd be willing to do this. Because I really believe that there's other players that were deserving of this also, of this possibility, of this happening for them.
Yeah, well, you make a point that's I think is a valid one. Is that they're young guys and they're a little raw, and part of their mandate is to develop curling in Russia, and you're not sure how much experience these guys have developing programs versus maybe a veteran like Randy Ferbey.
Absolutely. And not to say I would have done a much better job, but I've been all around the world, 30 years of experience. I think I could have developed or helped develop their teams and their program in Russia. Now, I'm not saying I would have jumped at the opportunity to do it, but I would have liked the chance to even apply for that or to have a possibility of working there with them.
Well, the Russians have a history of doing things a little secretively, Randy, so maybe
that was a good one.
There you go. Hey, let's wrap up with some thoughts on the Ferbey 4. When you look back on 10-plus years with those guys, what are you going to think about most?
You know what? Probably the friendship. The friendship. We most teams when they end on a bad situation, I guess. When it was all over, at the end of the day, we shook hands. We're still great friends. I still talk to Dave Netherwin every day since this happened, and I will. Scott and I and Marcel will be great friends till the end of time, basically. No one on this team is bitter. Everybody's happy with what happened. It was a great run. Unfortunately, it came to an end. It was longer than anybody possibly expected. I'm glad to say that we were on top or close to the top for 10 years. Like a lot of people look at it as, we're done. But, if you look at our record, we're still one of the top 3, 4, 5 teams in the world at the end of the day. And, a lot of teams below us would have relished that. They would have loved that. But we sort of got kicked because we're 4th or 5th, So it's kind of ironic that way. But I'm proud of the fact that we stayed together without making a change in 10 years. And because of that, I might be biased a little bit. I really believe we were the best team ever to play this game.
Besides winning a lot, what sort of advice do you give to teams that shuffle a lot, and why do you think? How do you think you keep a team together that long? Besides winning, I don't think a team stays together if they're not winning.
It's the 4 individuals that keep the team together. Why teams shuffle a lot is because they feel they can't win or something's not quite working, and I don't blame them for making a change along the ways. You have to make a change. It's a business, like you say, and the moment you think you can't win, well, you're probably not going to. But the 4 individuals on this team were unique. Everybody knew their role on the team. Everybody got along. We had issues. We dealt with them, and they were done with. An hour later, we shook hands and we started over whatever issues we did have. So it's unique that way. We could tell each other what we were thinking, the good, the positives, the bads, everything. And you know what? It ended on a great note, to be honest with you, because going into the last event, were we hoping to do well or win the thing for sure? I mean, every Bondsville we play, we're hoping to win. But I was happy with qualifying. We lost to a pretty good team. A great skip we lost that last game to.
Yeah.
Brad Gushue.
Yeah.
So we're happy with the way it ended.
Over those 10 years, what event would you like to have a do-over in?
Oh my God.
One event for a do-over.
You know what? I
2006 trials.
I don't look back too much on things, the positives and negatives again. Probably the first Worlds, but I think the first Worlds that we lost in Switzerland there, that made us stronger for the next 8. So anytime you lose an event or don't do well in an event, it probably makes you stronger along the way. So I don't really think there's any certain event that I would like to do over. Would I like to have the Skins game just a year ago back or the final game? Absolutely. But, it's one of those things. We're happy to get there at the same time and put things in perspective. And we're happy with how our curling careers have gone over the last 10 years. So I don't really look back on anything specifically.
Hey, so we did touch on the Brier briefly, but before we go, what do you think of some of the changes to the Brier format that are sort of being discussed or kicked around?
Well, those changes have been talked about for 25, 30 years, ever since I started playing. Are they going to change? No. Do I think there should be a Team Canada? No. I really don't. I think it takes away from the history of the game a little bit. You know, it makes you work that much harder to get back to the game. You know, I've heard that they can use them in a publicity thing or they can promote that team, but you know, I think the Brier is a separate entity all in itself, and I don't think having a Team Canada come back necessarily sells more tickets because the Brier has done quite well over the last 10 years anyway.
Yeah, I'm reluctant to embrace many changes with the Brier. I think it's a franchise that works. I do think, you know, when Jason Gunnlaugson comes back to playing it in 2020, it might be a bit of an antique by then. I don't know what it'll be like.
Yeah, well, it's hard to say. I mean, where they're at right now is pretty good. Let's be honest. They've done a great job promoting it. I know they get CCA at times gets condemned for certain things, but where the Brier was 20 years ago to where it is today, it's remarkable, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they have created a great franchise.
A little bit more than condemned.
Yeah. All right, Randy, we finished with a run back. I give you a topic. You give me your thoughts in 1 to 3 words.
Okay.
Cathy Overton-Clapham cut by Team Jennifer Jones.
Unfortunate, but I understand.
Contracts between members of a curling team.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, what do you do with Cathy though? I don't see how she gets cut out of the Continental Cup or Canada Cup money next year.
Nobody says that she is getting cut out.
Yeah.
You know, if the team is a team, they will do the right thing till the very end.
Here's what I'd suggest they do. They got to any money that they would have gotten anyways. They need to split that. They need to give Cathy 1/4 of, and then they need to split the rest among the remaining 4.
Whatever they decide, I'm sure it'll be fair. I'm sure Jennifer is a reasonable person when it comes to that, and it's not like we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars here.
No, we're not.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure she'll get her share one way or the other.
Jamie Korab.
Great guy.
You know, it's funny. You're replacing Jamie in a way, and at the same time, if I was going to walk into a Brier patch and of all the guys in that team that I think you'd be talking to, it would probably be Jamie.
Good point. You know, he's accepted this change very well. The moment it happened, or the moment he said he wasn't going to play or they were making a change, he called me an hour later and said, "Good for you. I wish you guys all the best. Look forward to watching you and supporting you."
There you go.
Good things about him. Yeah.
Canadians who played practice games against teams from other countries before the Vancouver Olympics.
No comment.
Yeah, you didn't do that, Randy. I kind of respected that, actually, that you weren't going to give teams practice games or help them out a whole lot.
Yeah, but again, it's no good if one team is doing it. We all got to do it.
Yeah.
Kind of pointless.
Your one-time teammate, Pat McCallum, back on tour next year with Kevin Park.
Looking forward to playing him.
Patty Mack.
Looking forward to it.
A lot of conversation on the ice, I imagine. Your best Jim Armstrong joke.
What's the story?
Your best Jim Armstrong joke.
You know what? I don't have one. I think everybody's heard them. Everybody's done them. It's unfortunate, and I don't think it's a laughing matter, to be honest with you. I know people, jump and give him all, like you said, these jokes, and it's unfortunate. And I wish him all the best. But you know what? He sort of dug his own bed there, I guess, or made his own bed there. Yeah.
You must have played against Jim a fair amount at one point.
I did a few times. I think I played him in the '87 Brier. To be honest with you. Yeah.
We wouldn't have been with Bernie Sparks then, right?
Bernie Sparks, correct.
Yeah. The Norwegian curling pants.
I love it.
Yeah, you gonna wear them next year?
Love it. We need more of that.
Yeah, you gonna wear those next year?
I would wear some version of it, maybe not that exact style, but some version of it, yeah.
Yeah, there's some that look a little less clown-like that would be good. Bring back some plaid next year, Randy.
I don't got a problem with that at all.
And finally, putting up a goose egg against David Murdoch in the final of the Casino-Rama Skins.
Oh, my God. Embarrassing. Unfortunate. That's about all I can say.
Costly.
Well, we still did better than 2 other teams.
You did do better. You did already brought that up, though, so I had it in there anyways, but I realized it was a sore point already.
Yeah.
All right, Randy, hey, it's great to have you on. I always appreciate your frankness. Before we go, do you guys know you have any sponsors you want to thank from years with Team Ferbey, or sponsors you want to thank looking forward?
Sure. One of our greatest sponsors and greatest curling sponsor in the world, World Financial Group, been with us for 8 years. They're sponsoring Continental Cup, and they will continue to sponsor me next year. Looking forward to it. Continental Stress, JVC, Prism Flow have been great supporters of Ferbey 4, and looking forward to Gray Power coming on board next year along with World Financial Group, and we got some others in the works right now that I can't quite say yet.
All right, good news, Randy. Looking forward to seeing this team next year, even if I said I was a little lukewarm on it. I'm looking forward to see how it develops, and we'll talk again.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
That's Randy Ferbey on The Curling Show. Start training for next curling season by following the programs in Fit to Curl by Olympic gold medalist John Morris. Available at fittocurl.com, at your favorite curling pro shop, and now at Chapters, Indigo, and Kohl's stores in Canada. If you want an autographed copy of the book, get to the Chapters store at 66 Crowfoot Terrace Northwest in Calgary at 2 p.m. on Saturday, May 15th. John will be there for a special book signing. This podcast is a property of Dean Gemmell, but all are welcome to link to this content from other websites. Special thanks to Black Lab 5 of Kalamazoo for production assistance, and the Black Pudding. Buy their album, Pudding Bloody Pudding, on iTunes. The producer of The Curling Show is Mackenzie Gemmell.